Alrighty, every folks. So a little bit of a pre-thing before we actually get started here. So when they reached out to me to cover Xenonauts 2 a little bit, I was given a Steam key to to go get started on this game. Now, obviously, I've covered it for years, and kind of minor ways here and there. So I already own the thing from back when it had its first first batch of early access stuff way back in the day. Because honestly, ever since Xenonauts 1, I knew I'd absolutely love Xenonauts 2. But this means that I now have an extra Steam key. So, for anyone that's looking for a bit of that experience, feel free to go ahead and leave your favorite Welcome to Earth story, because that's how we're going to be judging this whole thing. I want to hear the best kind of story you've seen, whether it's out of Xenonauts, whether it's out of Classic XCOM, or whether it's out of the X Division mod, any of those. Just your best story of just weird, suddenly emergent gameplay type of moments, like those times that you rolled up to a UFO to clear it out with all of your heavily armed goons, only to find out that, some random rent-a-cop with his pistol already cleared out the entire thing for you. Just sitting there reaction firing several heavily armed lizards at the same time. Or, like, I remember those moments where just due to the armor system, I was able to take out a tank with a pistol after, like, half an hour. Or, let's say those moments, like, where one time I was trying to just hit somebody on the other side of a wall and didn't realize it was the last section of wall holding up an entire skyscraper. And so the poor guy dropped a building on himself. Anyway, there's a million and one stories like that, and I just want to hear the coolest ones. So whatever you got in mind, feel free to go ahead and throw it in here, and let's hear it. Whoever's got the coolest story will end up getting the Steam key here. Maybe we'll do that by upvotes, like whoever gets a story that's upvoted the most or something. That kind of feels like it's giving priority to people that show up way earlier or something. I don't know. We'll figure that out, and we'll announce that at a later point. But anyways, I just want to hear all those stories, so y'all go ahead and leave them around wherever you can, and now we'll get back to the kind of preview type of thing itself, and honestly, no spoilers here. This thing frickin' rules. So y'all have yourselves a good one. I will see you soon, and also for pretty much the next hour or so worth of early impressions, and y'all take care. Can't wait to hear those stories. Bye. Alrighty, hello every folks, and good morning. Welcome to Xenonauts 2, finally. For years, I've been asked as a bit of a meme now, when this game was coming out, and finally it's here. So, first and foremost, is it good? Damn right it's good. It's still in early access, I will point that out. But yeah, this game has been in development for quite a decently long time. It's gone through a lot of iterations. I've covered it in some of its earlier phases before I knew that we weren't supposed to technically be doing that. But yeah, this is just for the sake of reference. This is a game that I have loved to absolute pieces in all of its different versions. Basically, my friend randomly gifted me Xenonauts years ago. Got absolutely obsessed with that one. Got absolutely obsessed with its gigantic overhaul mod, X Division. Spent over a year Iron Manning that thing. These games feel fantastic. I know it looks like somebody took Classic XCOM and put a new fresh coat of paint on it, but it's so much more. So basically we are looking at a similar formula to Classic XCOM. However, it's a decent bit more kind of like raw in terms of its feeling, in terms of just like how you're handling these different strategies and what have you. How you're trying to get out of these different situations. Like, the kind of emergent gameplay is, I would say, far stronger in now both the Xenonauts games. And so I gotta say, as far as this one goes, just so you know, it is a sequel. However, it's more or less kind of like a different take on what the original did. Because in both cases, you're looking at essentially a world that is going through the Cold War, and then the alien invasion happens. It's an interesting narrative because, unlike XCOM, you are on a tight clock, and I do mean tight as hell. Like, you feel the pressure, and that feels good. Now, I will say, this isn't like a XCOM 2 on launch, you're feeling the timers because, the timers say now kind of a situation. You're given time to complete most of your objectives. There are some that, are going to be a bit more timed, and you'll definitely see some familiar mission types from that situation. I assume a lot of those still apply here. But this game does a whole lot of stuff in its own way. So, for example, you remember how, let's say, in something like, I guess XCOM 2, I guess closer to War of the Chosen there was this this occasional mission type that would come up that asks you to run in and then run out. And, like, that's what we're looking at right here, where we have the cleaner missions. So, essentially, we have a situation where you are technically your same old paramilitary, kind of self. You're doing the same kind of stuff, but the framing is entirely different. Like I said, you're on a timeline, but now, instead of going out and collecting all the alien stuff, you are actively being prevented from doing that because there is essentially your I swear we're not an exalt kind of a situation that's going on right here, wherein essentially you're trying to figure out how to stop them from doing anything. The game's tutorial basically starts off with you are trying to go do the usual XCOM thing or Xenonauts thing, going to go collect your UFO, and then they immediately raid your base as soon as you launch your jets. So either way, there's a lot more kind of like spy thriller kind of stuff going on this time around. Anyway, that's the entire framing device in the whole thing. It's the old XCOM formula, but you are on a way tighter deadline because you are actively opposed on every front, and it just feels good. So, other things that this one does, and that is to say, like, Xenonauts in general does. So, essentially, the system has a suppression system, as you saw there, just kind of actively shooting nearby units will get them pinned down. There's a lot of physicality to the fights that feels really awesome. So, like, for example, setting up all of our smoke grenades over here, our layers of smoke to try to get away from that situation, because we were trying to get the hell out of here. One guy got clipped, second guy got clipped trying to get them out of there. So we ultimately had to retreat, blow some walls to try to deal with some units over here. We had gunners over here, but ultimately they didn't feel like funneling through this door, so we're just like trying to get everybody out at this point. Like, this game does pressure super well, and I love it. So we're just going to go ahead and start running everyone out to the dropship at this point. Hopefully that will be the end of that particular mission there. But yeah, pressure and just that raw feeling of stuff going south, and you're just trying to do your best. You're not necessarily going to get everything perfect. There's just a certain awesome chaos to it, and if you've been on the channel at all, I love me some awesome chaos. So, alright. Anyway, as far as comparisons to Xenonauts 1, it does do a lot of similar things. However, this time around it is in 3D. The actual logic behind the shots is entirely... it sounds weird to say it's backwards. It's more like it's flipped. So, I know this is a weird detail to bring up, but just bear with me. One of the things, like, when you were aiming up your shots in Xenonauts, the way that the rules typically worked were that you could go behind a piece of cover. That piece of cover would give you, a certain blockage percentage for incoming shots, and then you could essentially stand behind it to give you one tile of sort of like free fire. But then you would fire, and it would be like, okay, there's a chance for everything along the way. There's a chance to hit. So, for example, like, you'd fire right here, and it would hit the thing in front of you, or hit the thing in front of you, or hit the thing in front of you. And technically it's the same way here, however it goes from the backwards front. So, like, you take your shot, and if you missed your shot, then it'll hit something behind it, or if you miss that shot, it'll hit the thing behind it. It essentially goes backwards instead of being like, well, I'm gonna check against this, see if your shot like curved around over here, managed to hit this chair behind it, curved around over here, managed to hit this wall behind it, curved around over here, managed to hit this bookshelf behind it, that kind of thing. Which, yeah, I know it's a minor thing to bring up, but it really improves the feel of the gunfights in this one. The TU usage has definitely been tightened up, and actually, whenever this fight ends, I want to just show you the main menu, because I am weirdly excited about the main menu. I've wanted customization for a lot of like little tiny details and tweaks and whatever else for challenge runs or what have you for a very long time from a lot of these games, and a lot of the times it's missing. Okay, so let's talk this main menu real quick. Look at this right here. So, they actually give you customization for a lot more stuff than I really would have expected going into all this stuff, including having a fully custom difficulty. That doesn't seem to be fully implemented as of yet. But, like, for example, starting off with determining how much money you start off with, how much panic there is in different countries to start off with, your scaling for your funding, how many enemies there are, their accuracy modifiers, your chance for your soldiers to survive, whether or not you're looking at enemy health or inflicted damage or any of that. I'd assume that's here because a lot of folks really liked, for example, the highest difficulty of Insane back in Xenonauts, but the fact that you couldn't see what was going on tended to annoy some folks, to the point that even mods came out for that. Whether or not auto-resolve is allowed for air combat to see if you can cheese your upgraded cannons for the purpose of free wins. This is, again, I would assume a community answer to, I assume it's an answer to the community there, because one of the things you could do in Xeno 1 was essentially take a bunch of really cheap jets, and you could essentially take your original, like, cheapo, like, starter jets, what have you, put upgraded cannons on there, and it gave them a really high auto-resolve chance, which basically meant that they could win fights that they had absolutely no business winning, and at the same time, you could go do certain fights manually, for example, doing things like torpedo face bombing, where you would essentially turn off their torpedoes and then have them fire the moment that they impact the UFO. Essentially just kind of ignoring the fact that they're supposed to dodge them by just never giving them a chance to dodge, because they're just sort of like force-feeding them torpedoes, which made no sense, but it was awesome anyway. Anyway, I'm assuming that's why the auto-resolve got changed. Obviously, that last trick wouldn't be an auto-resolve trick. I've yet to see if that's possible in this version. I don't recall it being possible in earlier versions, but we're going to test it. Whether or not you get free attack rotation, so for most of the difficulties, if you're taking a shot, like one of the most annoying things is in an old XCOM game is when you would have like a desperate shot, you have just enough TU to fire, and then you're like 1 TU short when you're about to shoot, because suddenly they had to rotate slightly, and that took that 1 TU to fire. So that is actually turned off for most of the difficulties, so that you actually, or it turned on rather, so you'll rotate for free for that particular action. Just kind of a nice little mercy feature for folks that don't necessarily want to get super nitty-gritty with their TUs. Armor destruction on death, whether or not you want that to be a thing, because overkill is a thing in these games. And dynamic UFO health, so for example, if you send out one fighter to go deal with a UFO, it'll have slightly lower stats. If you send 3, it'll have slightly higher stats, basically just allowing for deciding, you know, how you want to handle those fights. This is basically just to improve the feel of them, because if you're sending out 1, it might just take too long to do it yourself, or if you send out 3, it might be an absolute cakewalk. So in this case, it's just kind of more of a tight challenge, what have you. You have campaign naming. This time, this is mostly for the purpose of, you know, your Iron Man runs or what have you. And again, that introduction, I was not expecting to praise the introduction here, but legitimately it's actually pretty solid in terms of your setting up your whole framing narrative and what have you. Okay, so let's talk geoscape layer here real quick. So first off, actually, the tooltips mentioned a thing that I forgot to, well, not even forgot, that I didn't mention earlier, which is that there are new interactions between characters and their stats. So, for example, strength at this point will affect recoil on your weapons, like when you're firing, like let's say you're taking your burst shots, your second burst would be less accurate, whereas, for example, taking 2 aim shots would be a bit more accurate and have less recoil to it. But either way, your second shot would be less likely, but stronger characters are essentially able to aim their guns better. So anyway, there's a lot of different... like I said, a lot of different mission types, different interactions, and what have you. But like to start off with here at the very beginning, you're basically dealing with the space Russians. So there's that. So apparently there's an entire mechanic this time. So in terms of finding their network here in order to shut them down. Every time that, obviously, you have funding to set up different bases, but it seems like there's different phases to all of this stuff. You've got a sort of worldwide panic thing that you're managing, again, kind of similar to something like a XCOM EU. However, you send out spies and whatnot. Like, there's basically a lot of things that are done differently here that you might have seen in, you know, other stuff from the genre that are just kind of done in more fun ways here. Oh, we get stun rods finally. By the way, I do want to read through all of this stuff. There's a whole lot of write-ups on all of this different stuff, but realistically, we're just getting to the actual mechanics and stuff here today. All right. Anyway, so let's go ahead and talk how they changed this layer right here. So as far as research goes, you basically up your research speed with additional scientists as you do. This is still like super early in the game, you know, 14 days in. We're not exactly going anywhere super crazy. As far as your research goes, you do 1 project at a time. I only mention that specifically because in earlier versions they did this thing where you did multiple at once. Maybe that's still possible through different you know, setup here. Although it does have different research capacities, so there might be more to that. You know, there still might be that that whole system in the game. Again, a lot of stuff has changed. There've been a lot of different versions. Sometimes you got stuff earlier on, sometimes later on. So just kind of bear with me. I'm trying my best. I'm trying my best to cover it all. They technically had a press package. I'll admit that I did not take a peek at it whatsoever, because I expect to just judge this based off personal experience, and then I'll go and see how far off the mark that is once I go and look at it. Alright, so as far as adjacency bonuses, again, you have that kind of thing going on here as well. So you got your power setups, you got your storage, your living space, your training systems, which we're setting up over here, you know, defense systems, medical facilities, all of that kind of stuff, because, you are trying to get the most out of your limited time that you can. So you're ideally going and training people while doing all of this stuff. Let's go ahead and actually recruit a couple people to make up for the ones that were lost. So let's see, we need some with some decently high turn units, because I will say, from what I've heard, base defenses are far more of a thing this time around, and like the tutorial takes place in this kind of room right here. Presumably you went off into other rooms. Based on the fact that you pretty much immediately end up getting several defense units, like just literally right off the bat, I would assume it's a very regular thing that you end up getting attacked here. But let's go ahead and talk about what these different units can do. Like, you basically start off with your I swear I'm not a shiv here. Let's go ahead and rename this thing real quick. There we go. So let's see. We got different ammo or different weapon types on all of these things. What are these? So we got vehicle cannons. We got this thing. I kind of would just prefer a cannon on this thing, to be honest. I'm not really sure why that's here. This is like some kind of laser pistol, I think. Or no, let's see. Ballistic auto rifle, armed with an auto rifle as its secondary weapon. Standard infantry rifle adapted for vehicle usage. Higher capacity, but cannot be reloaded. Okay, gotcha. So either way, that's basically a rifle, that's basically a cannon, and we'll just go ahead and leave that sucker right there. As far as your different soldiers and such go, they were given more more stuff that they can do this time around. In terms of their gear, like, you start off with accuracy boosting gear in the form of these cameras. You can sort of do minimal armor type of situations by equipping armor plates rather than always going for better armor. Like, we do have different armor types at this point. I think, who do I have with the better armor? Yeah, you've got the better armor. Now, the modular, at this point they're not back in the base yet, but the modular armor was a bit of a thing back in Xeno, or not in back in Xeno 1, but in Xeno 2, in earlier versions there was a way bigger emphasis on modular armor. It seems like that's still a thing. Let's go ahead and just make one of these, I guess. So you got modularity to your armor. You got here, let's see if we can show some of this stuff, maybe. Because, yeah, just like modular systems that you can add onto your different suits, whether they're more armor, more accuracy, what have you. As far as other components, in earlier versions, this kind of worked slightly different, where I'm trying to find one of the ones that has one of these armor suits. Like, the you put on the armor, and in earlier versions, it would be like you just have like a drop-down menu, and you click off stuff that you add to here. This time, I'm assuming you get that through the module menu, and then it adds it there instead. But either way, you got modularity to your armor. You just kind of slap stuff on, take some space on your rig here. You may notice no belt, it's just vest. So that actually, I mean, it seems like instead of backpack plus belt, it's just all belt, but big, and you wear it, kind of a thing. At least that seems to be the case there. So there's that. As far as the stuff that you start off with a decent bit more than you did back in Xeno 1. So instead of so you start off with all your grenades. You start off with detonation charges, which are basically like a smaller area grenade, but basically guaranteed to destroy stuff around them. So like it's just basically like a 3x3 zone that you'll just absolutely blow through a wall or what have you. And then you have your usual bigger charges over here. You got your medkits over here. Medkits don't seem to have a cost this time around. That is to say, they don't run out of supplies super quick before you basically have to stack multiple medkits if you want to survive for longer periods. This time around, it seems like one will do the job fine. Shields. Shields are just one of those things that Xeno loves to do, and they work freaking fantastic. They feel like they're back to working how they did in Xeno 1. They went through a few different versions. Some of them were basically just an armor boost, some weren't. But either way, this time around they seem to, or now that it's on full release, they do seem to work similarly to Xeno 1, wherein basically if you're facing that direction, here's just an extra health pool with some extra armor versus a particular direction. It'll take a hit or two for you. You start off with a grenade launcher this time around instead of a rocket launcher. Can also be slapped in with smoke rounds and stuff like that. So anyway, obviously this is, again, fairly early, you know, stuff's still being unlocked and what have you, but it just feels good, you know? It feels like they've been improving stuff across the board, and that just feels good. Let's see, the following things have been finished. Okay, fantastic. They're building stuff. We got some more people, and hopefully we'll actually have enough people on hand for whenever the next mission shows up. As you see, you get little ticks updating you on kind of where stuff's happening all across the world. And I guess we'll get to show off the air game here. And just like before, these little ticks will basically give you an idea of where they're operating. So I know over here, we're going to go ahead and set up a second base and call it New Ukraine. Seems historically accurate for how stuff's going right now. Let's go ahead and show this right here. So let's see. So you may have noticed there's additional stuff you can slap on your jets as well. So let's see if we can. Here, we can just. You get to place your people right from the get-go, which feels pretty darn fantastic. You can choose what approach they were taking. So they're going to fire off their missiles. You're going to go immediately into dodge rolls and go this way. Right. So this one's just going to chase down. The scout's going to go that way. You may notice your map is more freeform this time around. So there was a period in which... I'm going to fire the missiles. Here, you can kind of time out your dodges when it happens. So there you go. Dodge there. They're about to fire. Slightly dodge it. That should be just enough for them to survive it here. Okay, definitely playing this one way too risky at the moment. So we're going to have you go directly that way. You're going to go this way. There's no possible way that this is how we're going to continue on as far as how we want to handle these jets and things. You turn on your thrusters. You turn on your thrusters. Just basically you have go fast mode. Okay, just barely outrun it. This one's gonna take over for having aggro here. You gotta turn off your thrusters to have your dodge. Unfortunately, at this point, now he's locked into that direction. So he's gonna go ahead and quickly dodge here to try to get some shots. There we go, at a bit of an awkward angle. But this, I did a really bad job of showing it off there, but like the air game on this one feels fantastic. Also, that guy survived on 1 health. That's kind of hilarious. I assume it's actually still doing the same thing as before, where if your jets get shot down, you just sort of repair them. But either way, just like before, you get a you can go and collect your crash thing, or you can go send a team out to go get stuff. So we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to splice it off here real quick, largely because this, for whatever reason, the game doesn't seem to. It doesn't seem to be terribly fond of recording software, so whenever it's on a loading screen, it sometimes will have a bit of a slowdown. So we'll go ahead and hop into the fight real quick. Just to point this out, they actually sent a second UFO to try and intercept the dropship. So I had to go send out the 2 damaged jets to try and intercept the interceptor that they sent to intercept my already interception here. What a way to start! I love that. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up this review here with just doing a straight mission by itself, just kind of seeing what we run into, seeing the kinds of stuff we find. Might notice right over here, I actually have this guy running around with no weapon in his secondary, because you can actually replace your secondary weapon with a rangefinder. Like, modularity in your gear seems to be a big focus for this version, and I'm absolutely here for it. All right, looks like we got Sebbies right off the bat. So, oh, that lizard's pretty screwed, actually, because all we gotta do is hurt it a little bit, because Farmer Joe's over there with a shotgun. Yeah, for those that didn't know, who have never kind of played these games before, okay, maybe don't blow up everything right in front of me. Actually, wait a minute. Did I mix up which grenades I gave him? I totally mixed up which grenades I gave him, didn't I? 'Cause these are smokes, aren't they? Okay, well, accidentally, you know what? It's fine. It's fine. Let's just go ahead and block this door and proceed on forward. For those that don't know, one of the big kind of dynamic things that Xenonauts does is the civilian units. So, for example, you'll show up to a mission and there will be, like, let's say a bunch of cops fighting the aliens, or some army guys fighting the aliens, or civilians with shotguns, like over here, because, you know, we're, like, over here in the country. You know, Mr. First Amendment bumper sticker over here is going to be going and taking on the space lizards. Like, it's just a thing that happens. Also, just in case you know, stuff goes a little bit badly for him, we're going to be here with our stun gun to attempt to capture this lizard instead. Yeah, you get your stun guns way the hell earlier. I mean, I guess technically you could have them fairly early back in the original Xeno, but still. Also, you can run over stuff with your vehicles, so that's fun. We're just going to go ahead and go straight through that. Oh, also, another thing that they added is, for example, being able to take shot previews. So that's a good new handy feature. I'm glad that they tell you that stuff right away. So you got a lot of new options this time around. Like, I've seen some folks kind of lamenting that it wasn't some completely radically, you know, different formula or what have you. But there are so many little changes here that absolutely make this. I mean, I have a feeling this will be by far the most definitive version of this whole experience. Like, it just feels really, really solid. Like, I've been loving every minute of it. Just know that when it comes to, you'll see the occasional jitter and stuff like that. Whenever not recording, it doesn't really do that as much, but it is, again, you know, early access. As far as polish goes, it has gone quite a ways uphill there. So I would definitely give them the benefit of the doubt on polishing out all of the kind of like little jitters here and there. All right. Ooh, there's a lot of them over there. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and maybe get you out of there then. Actually, I probably should have brought some shotguns here, but oh well, it is what it is. Let's see, we can just probably go ahead and open up this wall at the same time. We'll just put this on there. Go ahead and take a little bit of a pop at him, get you out of there. See if you can go ahead and capture this guy. He's probably got some insano health, and this is probably a terrible idea, but whatever, we'll give it a shot. He's suppressed. He managed to survive all 3 of the stun gun rounds. I don't actually know how much health this guy has, but either way, he's downed for now, so at least it's something. We might as well probably smoke against these other guys, though. It does give you counters for all of your, like, little kind of digits here for all of your individual actions, which is pretty handy to have. Like, we'll go ahead and just take a normal shot in this direction here. Not super great odds, but we might be able to save this guy over here. Let's kind of keep these Sebbies away from him a little bit. See if we can maybe bust through this door here, figure out what we're doing. Okay, we're going to go ahead and block off this door. There's a mechanic that I believe is still in this version. You may notice I keep talking about blocking off doors. In the original, and actually in earlier versions of this, when you would stand in front of a door, you blocked it. Basically, the idea being that you're basically holding the thing shut. Now, I believe that's still happening in this case, but I haven't fully tested it enough to know for absolutely certain. Anyway, we're just going to go ahead and smoke here. We're going to go ahead and move on this way. And it's at this point that I should really start mentioning the controls, because the controls have come a gigantic way since earlier versions. Like, this feels so much nicer to play right now. It's like it's a bunch of little differences that ended up changing. Just kind of reactions to different buttons. You can do your tippity taps and stuff like that a lot easier. Honestly, a lot of it is there's too many like tiny changes to necessarily be able to detail every single one of them. But just the way that all the controls are laid out feels very cozy at this point. So definitely appreciating that one. It's like it just feels supernatural going back just like back in the day. Everything feels like it's exactly where it's supposed to be, and it just feels cozy. So they're going to go ahead and take some stuns right there. Hopefully they end up missing some shots. They're going to try to avoid the smoke. I feel like they're doing a really good job of actually functioning AI-wise, too. Like, I can't help but notice that they do seem to be pretty darn effective about the stuff that they do. Oh! Physical attacks get by shields, apparently. I didn't know that they could actually bash. Okay, the more you know. And they do still regenerate. That guy's probably going to knock himself unconscious, which, honestly, would probably be helpful here. One of the strategies that you could do pretty regularly in Xeno 1 was to literally go and gas the population unconscious so that you don't have to worry about them getting shot. Hey, you know what? Sometimes you just gotta solve problems in the way that seems appropriate. Let's see, can you finish this guy off, maybe? Alright, we're gonna have to get Leslie Nielsen in here to sort out this problem. Hey there, quick little editing note here. I'm pretty sure that taser was just bouncing off his armor there. Why don't you go ahead and switch over to this? By the way, also, for your main hands and your off hands will, oh, nice. You can't... Okay, so same rules apply as in the original, where if you finish them off and their stun rating is higher than their health loss rating, then they'll just go ahead and pass out instead. So there we go, we got an unconscious dude. Anyway. So let's go ahead and go over this way. Generally, it's not advised to be this aggressive like this, but I want to test out this door thing. So we're going to go over here. We're going to see if we can properly block off this door. The way that it worked before was that, yeah, they wouldn't be able to hold the door, or wouldn't be able to breach the door because you're there holding it. So let's just hope that continues. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and see if we can maybe suppress a little bit in this direction. See if we do that. Fire a couple bursts real quick. Okay, so he is suppressed. Let's see if we can throw a charge at this guy. No chance for that to hit. Probably because there's a wall in the way. I mean, feels like a factor. It could be. Alright. Take a bit of a shot there. He's not currently suppressed. I'm sure there's going to be something along the lines of there's some certain amount of shots at this point, because it feels like locked-in values are more of a consideration. But we're going to test that right here by just firing another burst at him. There's no chance to hit, but we can just tell her to fire anyway. There we go. Go ahead and suppress the guy, and you're going to go ahead and go kind of hang out by this door. And so between the smoke, the cover, and the fact that they're suppressed, we should be able to comfortably outflank them next round. Let's see, who do we still have left? We still have our robot over here. See if we can take some shots in this direction. Unfortunately, he is looking a little bit worse for wear right now. Though they do have a pretty decent amount of health. So yeah, it was earlier versions of that robot had a decent bit less bulk to them, so that's why I'm kind of expecting him to just melt in this particular situation. Anyway, let's move you over here. Alright, shield person is looking a bit dicey. Let's move you here. Do you have any medkits on you? You don't. Do you? Because I'd assume most of my rifle dudes have medkits on them. Thankfully, they did remember an important lesson from last time, which is that folks would immediately throw away some of the more weighty stuff. So, like, medkits obviously would weigh a decent bit and what have you, but a lot of times folks would forget to bring them, and you would just lose units to, like, a 2 damage bleed out or something like that. So this time around, they're not only seemingly unlimited, but they also are going to be part of your standard loadout just right from the get-go. You can switch all of your loadouts. I didn't mention that earlier. You can swap out all of your loadouts as needed. Yeah, she is bleeding pretty darn bad right now. Unfortunately, they're going after the locals now. They should be all well and suppressed, and we should be able to deal with them without too many crazy issues. Either way, though, these fights have a tendency to snowball very, very quickly, which, again, is just part of that great tension feeling. And it looks like, yeah, you can still hold the door, so fantastic there. Otherwise, he almost certainly would have gone in, opened the door, and blasted him away. This allows you to do shenanigans like this, where we're just going to open the door and basically let's go all friggin' whatever the hell that movie was on him. Let's go ahead and poppy-pop you, poppity-pop you. So you don't have the... Why do you not have the points for another poppity-pop? Whatever. Take another shot. That one's down. That one's suppressed. Deal with you real quick. Almost dealt with the other one on accident. There we go. You're gonna miss. You... Okay, well, whatever. We're gonna have ways to deal with that. You just go over this way. Oh, and you don't have to... Okay, you're not immediately blocked by the door. That's actually pretty convenient. I know, again, that's a minor detail, but whatever. Let's go see if we can stun you, actually. Alright, well, they took some stun. I realized that, probably should have given you a medkit. Oops. Okay, we're gonna run you back to right here. I'd assume, yeah, you got a medkit, so you go over here, you medicate this one so that they maybe don't turn into a tomato all over the floor if you could. Let's see, do you got a shot on this one? I mean, they're suppressed enough that it probably shouldn't be too much of an issue. Just for safety, we can probably do this. I mean, it's going to blow up their stuff, but I'd rather their stuff be pasted than the unit be pasted. Whatever, let's take a shot here and take a shot here. Okay, that took that one out. You take some safety shots in this direction. It's going to be through smoke, so these shots are going to suck. But okay. Actually, one solid solution here might be just to stun gas this, because their health is low. So due to the fact that smoke inflicts stun damage for a tile, there's a decent chance they'll just get knocked out by that stun damage. And then lastly, you're going to go around the corner here. Probably just do a second layer of that just for good measure. Here, let's see. Actually, why don't you just take a quick burst at this guy? Oh, that did the job. Okay, perfect. And he's unconscious because he got stun damage. Perfect. And now you go this way. Fantastic. Like, this just feels good. This is basically my second time going into this particular version. Like I said, a lot of stuff's changed, and it just feels fantastic. Not to mention, I love... so, back in the original, you would use... you would occasionally go and use your flashbangs as your default stun grenades, which had a tendency to get a little silly, because if you wanted to get your early captures, like, there was always sort of some tech for early captures, basically what you do is you load up every one of your units with like 20 flashbangs and then just kind of trap them inside their UFO and just spam fire those things until finally it got past all their armor. Because there's a system in this game, just like original XCOM, where you're basically wearing down armor every time that you fire. So, this means funny little things like basically just breaking through armor by eventually hitting something enough times. This was especially funny during something like the X Division run, where I had a moment over having run completely out of ammo during a terror mission kind of thing, and basically just plinked the thing with pistols until the tank exploded. But either way, you know, you can do stuff with that system is the idea. Also, we're gonna move Snipey over here. Ooh, that's a problem. That's a bit of a whoopsie, sir. Try to hit that guy, please. Thank you. Maybe do that again. Fantastic. Yeah, this is actually going surprisingly well, all things considered. Why don't you come out here, take a bit of a crouch, and attempt to do the same. Maybe don't hit your friend in the back of the head. Okay, that was extremely unlikely to work out well, and this guy is definitely enjoying his new partial haircut, but still, you know, stuff worked out well. We haven't lost anyone in this particular situation, so that's nice to have on hand. You go ahead and go this way. We'll probably smoke up somewhere else. As you see, that stun damage is this little yellow meter. Hopefully you can see it down here at the bottom. It's building up pretty reasonably quick. So this is just a nice and viable damage type. Alright, let's see. You are apparently completely out of ammo. Okay, whatever. You're just going to be a shield for everybody else. Like, one of those fun little strategic things that you could do in this one, and the original as well, is you just have shields roll up, you have rifles behind them. Just basically have your kind of rolling snipe squad as you do. You can do all your usual police tactic-y kind of stuff. It feels good. Like, this system feels so good to play. As far as XCOM likes and what have you, I think this, just in general, the whole Xenonauts formula just definitely speaks to me the most. Like, as much as I love stuff like War of the Chosen and what have you, I mean, this whole thing with just like using shields and kind of overwhelming force to go through tiny little things, or using mundane objects as a kind of awkward cover and whatever else, it just feels really good to take advantage of. I love this system. I mean, there have been attempts to put similar mechanics into like classic XCOM and what have you, but you know, it's never quite been the same. Anyway, we're gonna go ahead and have you fire over this hedge a little bit. See if we can maybe... There we go. What do you mean, no? Do it. Asking you to fire your grenade over in this particular direction, please. Alright. Fine. You just be rude like that, then. Presumably it just doesn't want you to fire in an arc there, which is alright, I suppose. But what we can do is probably fire right here. Just take a little bit of a snapshot-y kind of deal. Okay, that didn't... I mean, I guess this is the nice thing about using smoke. You don't necessarily have to worry about the fact that your shot went a little bit wrong there. Alright. Let's get you over in this direction. Tab between units, because you can do that now. Get you over here to lay down a little bit of fire in just a moment. Crouch and look. Get you going in this direction to see about grenadifying this. Actually, just go ahead and smoke them a little bit. There we go. Hopefully we'll just be able to get a few free captures using just smoke. Probably send in our robot to do the bulk of the actual tanking here. Probably send you over in this direction, see if we can maybe make some of those shots land on this random hay bale or whatever this is. Let's have you crouch. This should provide a decent bit of cover or drag them out. Alright, snipey guy, you are going to snipe over in this direction. I'm sure they're feeling a little bit uncomfortable with these knocked out lizards. I will say, unlike classic XCOM, presuming that the rules are still going to be the same, the lizards shouldn't be coming back up. Units coming back from unconsciousness generally wasn't a thing in either Xenonauts or X Division, so I'd assume that's going to be working the same here. There's a lot of kind of quality of life, just kind of enjoy the tension of the situation more so than like awkward logistics kind of situations, if that makes sense. Where, you know, again, you get your free spin when you're going and going and attacking on most of the difficulties, or a lot of your weapons are going to be coming in unlimited quantities instead of needing to constantly remake them and stuff like that. So there's that. Right, let's see. Let's pop you. See if we can make some unconscious happen. That looks good. Let's see. Can you? Wait, what? I have no idea what just happened. I must be crazy. I thought he just got knocked unconscious. Maybe not. Anyway, you go here, crouch, and fire behind your friend, please. Let's go ahead and use this shield as mobile cover. You move over here, you move over here, take a couple shots. And the reason that we're using this shield on our turn is because they can reaction fire and all of that kind of thing. So you're going to crouch. Right now they're not using grenades, so we don't have to worry about that. They will definitely be using grenades later. Like, endgame in original Xenonauts was basically you step out of the dropship and you're already seeing rockets whizzing by your head. They pulled absolutely no frickin' punches. So there was that. Alright, one more tile out here. Good. Okay, the old rule still applies. So if you fire at a door, you basically can fire underneath it. So I wasn't sure if that rule still applied. Apparently it still does. Alright. Upwards and onwards. Get all of these guys in this direction. Alright. I don't know if my extremely clacky keys are coming through extremely clacky, but I hope so. They've got a good amount of clack. I like me some clack. You're probably going to be able to take one more hit on that shield, and on top of that shield you've got your armor, and on top of your armor you've got at least some health left, so there's that. Like, you can layer your armors, which feels fantastic. It feels like they've taken some notes from X Division here. Original Xenonauts, your units were extremely flimsy. Now they're typically going to take a couple hits. So that just feels awesome. Anyway, we're going to attempt to capture every one of these if we... Well, we're not going to try to capture every one of them. If they run out, they're toast. But we're going to try to deal with this as best we can. Just going to keep firing here. Let's see. You go ahead and reload. Put some smoke rounds in. You go here. Get ready to snipe. You go here. I really should have brought my shotguns. Really should have brought shotguns. Alright. It's probably an unnecessarily risky position for you, but whatever. Just face... Actually, no. You go this way. I'm curious to see if they can see around corners. Last time around, they could kind of cheat a little bit, because because they could see around some corners, and then you find out how later, because sometimes you could see within the UFO. I haven't seen any of that in this version, but either way. Am I confident in them taking at least one shot here? Yes. Yes, I am. You're gonna go forward, you're gonna... What can this one do? Okay, that's actually... that's not bad. It's only 28. I don't know how long it's going to put them out of commission for repairs, but whatever, it'll do. Anyway, you take one shot, and I don't want to spend the points to repair you. So you... Shieldy. You are now mobile cover, so you go right there. Everyone's going to go in, they're going to take a quick burst, and then they're going to get out. This guy's unarmored, so we're just going to take some quick little pot shots here with the rifles, and then running off. Alright, he's suppressed and very badly injured. So you go this way. Take another pop. And he's done. Next one goes in, takes another pop. Okay, that's probably fine. Presumably, if they're only doing those 28s, they're just going to pop it on the shield. We have the rifles take a couple shots real quick, and then we're done here. The shield seems like it's just going to take those hits for us. Shield had about 50 health left over at the last check here. I'm thinking probably we'll just open door. We'll see if these guys can take their shots normally. Yeah, 75. Let's take a couple shots there to see about having the robot run up and blast it in the face. So why not? Beautiful. And let me pause it real quick here. Alright, so here we are after the mission here. So, as a bit of a side note, this makes me notice that that we have a bit of an interesting situation here. Because technically, this game also... well, you only get your research materials upon the team making it back. Now, as you saw what I mentioned earlier, they sent out this guy to go intercept this thing. So we're actually going to have to go and send it out in a different direction real quick and just kind of let this play out here real quick. I love that in terms of just setting up different tension there. Just the fact that they sent an interceptor out to go pick up my dropship before it got there. Let's see. Their auto-resolve odds are probably pretty crappy here. Oh, actually, this is a cool feature, too. You can actually do an auto-resolve, and then you actually... like, if it says that they'll fail, you can do it manually, or if you're just unhappy with how they handled it, you can go and just do it manually instead. So it's good. It's good. Also, you can just select your formations right from the get-go. All right. Let's see. We're gonna go ahead and set them both up on thrusters to begin with. This way, attempt to just kind of do a drive-by here. Let's see. The second one. Okay, no, we're gonna keep going. So we're just gonna have them kind of burn out the resources here. Oh, well, I guess they weren't making it back anyway. Not gonna see them in Xenonauts 2. We should save our second interceptor here, but we're gonna try to just manually dodge this out. Looks like yeah, that missile took off 25 of their 275 here. I'm gonna go ahead and take one dodge here. I'm gonna take that one. Okay, so you can't dodge every single shot. Back in the original, you actually used to be able to dodge pretty much everything. Now, if we can just get on his tail, we'll be in a bit of a better situation. Looks like we're at 225 to... yeah, it's going to be a bit of a thing. Why haven't you fired your missile yet? Good. Maybe they have to be in a particular range to fire the missile. Waiting for the noise. Kind of feeling like it's going to be about there. Slightly too late. Oh well. Let's see if they actually come back now. So we accept the result of that whole thing. Let's go check out our aircraft here. Now, are they being rebuilt? Okay, so it's going to take... Ooh, holy crap, it takes a while this time around. Okay. Good to know. So that's fun. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at other options. In terms of their equipment, you can basically just... you can swap out missiles and other things like you could before. Actually, it's probably worth switching out for torpedoes, because I want to see if we can do that whole thing. So we'll switch out for torpedoes. As far as guns go, you can actually put a... You can triple missile this time around. Okay. Fantastic. That gives a lot more a lot more options as far as that goes. If you wanted to change your formations of your different units, you could do stuff like this. Like where, for example, if you wanted to use more of the side doors and what have you. So, like, typically, you know, normally back in the original would try to go for all doors at the same time. But again, that's for different reasons. So yeah, you can actually do triple points here. Also, you have different armor plating options to put on there. Again, you got modularity on friggin' everything, so that feels good. Now, the question is our dropship now screwed? Let's see. Or are they going to just sort of forget that it's there, or are they going to go after it? Okay, apparently they're just going off that direction. Fantastic. So we got our Elenium at this point. We got the Mentarch, kind of a weird-looking thing. We got some Sebes. We got their Scout. We got some captured Sebes as well. Currently, we're still doing magnetic weapons, so we'll get that when we get it. Feels like that could have definitely gone a lot better, but oh well. Whatever, we got a lot of research at this point, and it actually does tell you at this point which ones are going to be plot relevant, and they'll actually give you large increases to your funding when you do plot relevant stuff. So that's just a good one to have. Now we're just going to be staring at this thing for the next couple weeks. It's just sort of floating around doing its thing as you do. Okay, so looking over this, it looks like the training center is going to be passively training all the soldiers at the base at the same time. So they're just going to be getting their free XP over time. Which is good, because that was kind of a bit of a thing last time, that if you ended up skipping missions at a certain point, you could wind up with units that fall behind the curve pretty decently hard. Alright. So we get our mag weapons, and as you can see, they actually added new functions to different weapons this time around. So like the tier 2s in this case, you get some better penetration off the shotguns, you get some better damage overall off the pistols. But all of the different weapon types will do different stuff. Like, I don't know if it still does this, but like lasers sort of did the thing from original XCOM in an earlier version here, where they just recharged as you use them. So we can make some mag weapons happen now. We can do weapons. These are likely to be significantly more powerful than ballistic. Okay, we'll at least give that a shot. Actually, we'll probably start off with the interrogation. Yeah, interrogation of live civilian. Training improves training rate and grants a 15% damage bonus. Okay, that's pretty significant. Usually it was the autopsy that... or was it the autopsy? I guess it was capture that gave you 15% last time. Anyway, whatever, you get a bonus, you do stuff. I'm just going to wait to see if our jets are finally back into commission here. Looks like we're going to be out of commission for another 4 days, which is convenient because we're also researching stuff for another 4 days. I like that you can rename the jets now. Let's see. Research text coming in milestone 2. Well, we'll get there. Yeah, so they get regeneration, they get bad eyesight, it's a 2% penalty for each tile of range. Let's see, scaled skin. So the amount of thick skin is given an extra amount of armor. In addition to the regular armor and claws, melee. Capable of attacking nearby units with their powerful claws. Attack has poor penetration but can cause heavy damage to unarmored units. Very high chance of causing bleed, which we saw through that shield earlier. So melee attacks will get around shields, by the way. Let's see. Decently high health, decently high bravery. Now, they do have a bravery score this time, and that bravery isn't... Well, I guess technically that bravery is checked for their suppression score, but there is a chance that they might be able to be forced to retreat. Tissue regeneration, you say? That sounds like a good thing. What does that mean? Analysis of alien surgical devices and regenerative stem cells may allow us to improve our own medkits. Okay. So it's just improved medkits. For a second there, I thought it was going to be like regeneration patches or something. Would you like to have a new research objective? Yes. How about... Wait, quantum teleportation? That's a bit of a thing. Studies of several important components within the captured UFO may allow us to better understand how the extraterrestrials can visit our world. Ote, that sounds like a useful thing. I mean, we should probably get more armor and weapons at some point, but it might be useful to know how quantum mechanics work, I guess. But yeah, you still get other missions even if you are not shooting stuff down, so in this case there's an abduction site. Again, you see a lot of stuff that you've seen kind of throughout the genre in different ways, but just kind of done in a different way here. Like later on, I know that you can send out spies and stuff to deal with some of these or mitigate the effects of some of these. But anyway, there's an abduction site, so we'll just go ahead and send some stuff out. Endgame progress at 5%. Apparently it's giving you full ideas over how you are progress-wise. That's actually pretty cozy, considering the total mystery that happened last time. Like, back in Xeno 1, just for reference, you were kind of stumbling around in the dark a decent bit. So, like, for example, you would just kind of research stuff, and even when, like, they had some things that were red herrings on the research tree, which was not quite randomized, but kind of sort of randomized, so, like, vaguely speaking, if you wanted, say, something like laser weapons, you basically would go and you would acquire a whole bunch of magnetic weapons, and then in order to research those magnetic weapons, you need a certain amount of them, and every time that you went through, it was kind of different weapons that you'd collect that would give you a different way through, or in some cases, like, you basically needed a certain amount of them for one milestone, a certain amount of them for another milestone. In some cases, you'd get a unit and they wouldn't give you very much. In other cases, a different unit type that run would give you a bit more progress. It's kind of one of the fun things that goes on with the research in that game. But it basically gave you this sort of a feeling of trying to like push your way through a mystery every time, which felt pretty good. Okay, her accuracy is pretty good. We're going to leave her with a rifle. She's got her plates. That's not... She's... Whatever. She's got a really high rank. She needs something. I feel like her natural accuracy is good enough that just giving her armor and the plate is going to be a bit more worthwhile. See, in her situation, she's all about the reflexes. You, lady, are going to be a shotgunner. We need more of those. She's got a shotgun, whatever. You don't need accuracy to shotgun. We'll put that on there. Probably get rid of the smoke in this particular case. Let's see. This guy is fine with his grenade launcher. Just go ahead and smoke around stuff. You're all about the accuracy, probably give you a bit more ammo, maybe. There we go. No way in hell he's burning through all that, but hey. Let's see, you're also all about the accuracy, you're also pretty decently bulky. Whatever, we'll just give you more of that. In fact, come to think of it, this guy's all about the accuracy, he's also got a decent amount of carry weight. Why don't we just make you a heavy gunner? And yes, I realize that this is entirely what these exist. Whatever, here. Fine, just because somebody's saying that nobody's saying to do that, but we're gonna go ahead and swap out for that real quick. Do you have enough weight for some plates? No, but what if you get rid of one box of ammo? Then you're all good to go. Alright, what about you? You're fine enough. I'm assuming the same rules are gonna apply where if you equip them kind of to the maximum of their equip weight, that you're going to end up training their strength a little bit better. Again, I have no real way to know for sure, but I'd assume that's the case. Let's see, you've got plenty of leftover weight. In fact, you're going to be our... I think you're going to be our shielder. So let's go ahead and shield you up. Go over to your equipment, get that shield going. Get your med kit over here. I don't know how much this pistol weighs. Not very much. So there we go. We got that. We got that. I would give her the stun gun, but I think we're just going to use gas for that for the moment. Stun gun still seems a little bit unreliable, though it did seem to do the... I feel like it's mostly on me as far as why that wasn't terribly reliable. Just wasn't really picking the best moments for it. Let's see, probably not going to be burning through all that ammo. Probably would appreciate some flashbangs there. Probably not going to burn through your pistol ammo. Additionally, where's my shield person? You also probably need to sub these both out for flashbangs. There we go. Feels a bit more likely to happen. You probably don't even need that second magazine. More flashbangs for you. There we go. Yeah, this is this just feels good. Like this, I don't know how many of the folks watching this will have been, potentially sticking around from the Tactics Ogre videos and stuff like that. Also, I probably should have waited a few seconds there to to let it be daytime, but whatever. But like this feeling of just like swapping stuff out for slots or whatever else, that's one of those things that I really appreciated in TO Reborn there. So this was the game that made me really start appreciating item slots and stuff like that. Like, to some degree it was there from original XCOM, but Xenonauts was really when it started getting that, like, that nice, juicy, I can feel the strategy from these buttons kind of a feeling. Also, let me go ahead and step this real quick. Okay, out of curiosity, I went to go take a look at that press package that they sent over, just to see if they mentioned why it does that kind of like hang when recording through loading screens. Which, by the way, that does not affect anybody other than folks that are recording this, just so you know. And I would assume, I mean, hell, it only does it some of the time, but I'm still going to be paranoid about it regardless. Anyway, I just gotta say, I appreciate the amount of love that went into the guide there. I'm assuming that's going to become the manual, because that is very, very pretty and detailed for for a just a press package, All right, so one thing to note is that I assume this is probably operating off similar rules, but the way that maps worked in Xeno 1, and again, I assume for Xeno 2 as well, is sort of not quite procedural generation, but kind of. What I mean by that is that you basically have a set map with props in different locations. So like this, for example, looks like one of the maps that I went into earlier, where you've got a pool over here, you've got some openings and buildings over here, and stuff just kind of looks differently. Like you got a firing lane right here, you got some buildings up here, all of that kind of stuff. But the actual like locations of props and things are different when you're going through different times. So, just so you know, if this works like before, this basically means that you're going to be coming in, potentially from different locations, potentially there's just going to be different situations every time you go through. I always know that the immediate thing's like, oh, why wasn't it just like fully procedurally generated or something like that? And it basically just leads to tighter maps. If you ever are in that position and you're concerned whether that affects replayability, I know even going through Xenonauts, going through X Division, all of that, for a really long time, even though you start learning the layouts, it mostly just becomes cozier to play. It doesn't actually affect, like, replayability or what have you. Mostly it just kind of leads to a better feeling of comfort going through these different maps. In many cases, I would say it's more like a, kind of like let's say you're playing like a Battlefield or something like that, and you have you just have those moments where you're familiar with the map, but it plays out differently every time. That kind of situation. So either way, okay. So let's see. Kind of want to duck the gunner in here so that I can eventually have them go fire in that direction. But at the same time, kind of want to park him over here behind this box. But if there's something over here, that would be a bit of an issue. Can you just give me a little quick peek around the corner here, Mr. Robot, as you destroy the cover I was hoping to use? Oh, okay, we're dealing with Cesians this time, and they actually look to have come with rifles, so we can probably expect some better accuracy. Like, that's another thing. I really appreciate the more obvious visual design this time around. Like, where you can more clearly tell, like, what exactly everybody's got. It's not that you couldn't tell before, there's just something more noticeable about the way that stuff's put together. Something about it pops more. I can't really say what. If that makes sense. Alright, let's go ahead and turn you around. Let's see, shield probably can go around. Actually, you're probably safe right there. You're fine in that direction. It's not like you can really do very much anyway. You can probably go around here, get ready to clear this zone. Probably go this way and then this way. There we go. I'll leave you with just enough to fire. You're going to need help. Well, screwed that up. Anyway, also you can mark units as kind of having been completed for the round, just like you could in Classic XCOM by just hitting space. Just in case that is a thing that you need. Let's go ahead and move the heavy gunner down over here, just in case we need to suppress that that Sebi over in that direction. I'd assume they're going to have other things to deal with, but we're just going to go ahead and leave it there. Alrighty. They're just going to fire at a distance. Oh, shoot, that is some accuracy on them. Okay, so... Or not Sebes, Cesians. Well, that's concerning. So, them suckers are accurate as hell. That's, Or they got night vision or some crap? Okay, first order of business. You go out here and just light this sucker up. I don't know where they are, but somewhere in that direction. So you just go ahead and do that. You're gonna go and set some stuff on fire. Yeah, there he is. So he's not suppressed, but a grenade should do the trick. So let's go ahead and chuck this sucker over here. It feels like grenade rates across the board are way more accurate this time around. Additionally, we have to go deal with these tubes this time around, so there are more timed objectives, but they're not like the full story. But it's like good timed objectives, though. It's like so far every timing that I've seen. Oh, well that's okay. Well, he's gone. Every kind of a timed objective that I've seen has been kind of timed just right that you can get there without too much craziness. All right. Where do you see this dude? Take your coin flips. Fantastic. Yeah, I really like this this cannon on this little rover here. All right, there's one of the engineer variants. That actually works out pretty nicely because you should be able to maybe, just maybe, fire on that thing from here. Oh, hello. All right, well, I should be paying a little bit more attention here. Let's go see. You've got no shot there. What about a flashbang? You got a flashbang on this dude? You do not. Alright, in that case, you just go ahead and crouch in this direction. You do get line of sight, but you also get cover, by the way. So you're not, like, completely blocked off by using taller objects. Just a nice little quality of life feature. Also, I think the robot will be able to take on the other guy, so we're just going to go ahead and see if we can just move into the smoke here. You're not gonna crouch. You're gonna go over here. You're gonna get ready to ambush this guy if he runs around the corner. All right. So you're fine there. You're fine there. Let's see. Is there gonna be somebody hiding around this corner? No. Okay, I was a little bit curious there. Because in previous versions, it always seemed like there was something hiding around this corner, so I was almost worried that that was going to be a set thing. It appears not to be. Alright. So we got one of the 5 tubes, and then we'll just go ahead and lock the turn in there. I realized I was only supposed to show one of these things. That not to say that, like, that makes it sound like I was told specifically to only show one or something. Oh, well, robot goes bye-bye. I meant to only show one and just kind of show the general flow of the thing, and then this just sort of kept going. Almost like this thing is fun or some such. It is really dang fun, by the way. Nice. And, yeah, I forget if I mentioned this earlier, but if they have the turn units to, for example, use a pistol that's in their pocket, they will just whip out the pistol and fire. So that's handy to have. Anyway. Let's now hope that there's nothing else around the corner. You just take out this guy. Cool. Maybe, I meant to take a bit of a different shot there. Can you hit this guy? Beautiful. Alright. So now instead you go over here and give us a bit of a look around. Not really much going on there. Let's see. So far we're dealing with like 5 or so. I don't know what the spawn rates are for units yet, so I can't say whether that's comfortable or not. This feels like we're probably safe to run up and approach this one. Let's go ahead and get you rescued. See about taking a bit of a crouch here. Give us a peek in that direction. Like, this is what I mean. Like, I know the vague layout of the map, but it hasn't changed the actual tension of the situation. Which I like. Feels good. Alright. Not really liking how much blacked out area there is on the map in that direction, but we'll deal with it. Anyway. Also, another thing to mention, this was also the case in Xenonauts 1, but you auto-equip your flares. So you don't have to worry over whether or not you brought them along. They're cheap, they're plentiful, they're unlimited actually. So you can just kind of flare up wherever you need. You don't have to worry about equipping anyone. Like I said, it's just a very cozy experience. Let's see. Let's park you in this direction, get ready to ambush. here. Alright, nothing there. You're safe to run up. And you're probably at least going to be safe to stand up. Save a little bit of a TU for later. That'll be that. Bit of a bummer that we lost 2 units already, especially one of which was kind of our leader for the squad. So I'd assume also that the ranking works the same way in this one, where like you'll essentially take higher morale penalties for higher ranking units going down. And to some degree, you would take a little bit of a morale penalty for sending out all rookies. Okay, so he just got knocked unconscious. He didn't get outright killed. That's a happy break. But we know that that Cesians are definitely the more dangerous of the two right now. Or at the very least, I guess we're dealing with a night mission, so there is that. Okay, we don't want to take that middle lane for any particular degree just yet. I'm just going to go ahead and crouch you down. These two are just going to watch this lane for the time being. I don't really want to advance down that line as it is. Let's see. You're probably just going to throw one of these out in this direction. See that lighting up the area a little bit. There we go. Just kind of hopefully reaction fire on some of these guys. You're done with your turn. You're done with your turn. I see a tube over there. We're going to sprint you in that direction because we still need 2 more. Once we have that done, we can comfortably move on to other things. They won't have enough to actually do anything, so we're just going to leave you where you are. I would assume if there was another tube, it probably would be in that direction somewhere. You, on the other hand, are going to run up and flare up inside of this building, because I'd expect that to be a problem. So we're going to want 1 flare there. Oh, shoot, we got that dude found. Okay, not enough to move him into cover, but there's enough to at least fire on him. Just gave a little bit of a tap, unfortunately. However, you probably do something like that. There we go. Oh, that's cool. The tires popped on the truck from the pressure there, and it just sat down. That's a nice little detail. Appreciate that. Let's see. Heavy gunners where you should be. Rifle is going to be needed for support. I don't expect them to be able to support much from back there. Okay. Probably can get rid of the tooltip over here. They've done a really good job with the tooltips, I gotta say. Like, so far there hasn't been anything that felt like, yeah, duh, information. Like, it hasn't felt condescending, it hasn't felt annoying. Like, it just feels like the tutorials have been handled really well. So far I really like how all the mechanics have been expanded on since last time. It's just a nice experience so far, you know? I'm definitely going to give more full impressions as we go on, but honestly, I would expect that these guys nail the end game too. They're just good at pressure. Also, this guy's an absolute freaking genius. I'm going to stand here right between these 2 firefights. What can possibly go wrong? I might kind of want to say smoke grenade and run, but I'm thinking burst and smoke seems to be the best way to go here. Might suppress him a little bit more. I'm hoping that might be the best. Oh. What? Oh. Oh, they got them. Okay. This must be the Warmind thing. Okay, so I didn't know how that changed this time around. Basically, if you're hit by mind control or something, you have another action in order to go and deal with stuff, or at least that's how it used to work. This time around, they took a shot on that unit and seemed to have been counter mind controlled. That's interesting. Okay, let's just go ahead and pop this guy in the face, and then we'll go from there. I know you're definitely not surviving that. However, what do we do with this? Oh boy, hang on. Okay, so I need to get 1 more. We got 3 turns to at least get to one of these tubes here. Turning out to be a little bit of a problem. Unfortunately, yeah, she is mind-controlled at the moment. I'm still surprised that they can counter mind control. That's something. Let's see. Can we... I feel like what we need to do is probably blow this out of the way. Like, they can get any shots on this wall over here. So we just turn this over real quick. We're going to take a quick burst onto this wall. I'm thinking if we actually, no, if we just do something like this, we throw a one of these packs over here, that should suppress her, that should open up. Okay, that didn't quite. Apparently she's very, very unafraid at the moment. But the plan is to try and attempt to suppress that guy, because they're probably going to go after her next. But, let's see. We can just drop one of these directly on you. That would certainly sort out the situation a decent bit here. Fantastic. Still have enough for a burst. He has been suppressed to death. It's the best kind of suppression. Let's see. They took care of that guy over there. Why don't we park you over in this direction? We're definitely starting to lose units at an uncomfortable pace here. But it is what it is. You know, we'll just go ahead and call it an exploration file. Also, wait, no, wait, you were the one with the high rank. The one with the shield was one of the rookies. Okay, no wonder we didn't have a massive panic attack across the party. Fantastic. In that case, we should be able to get that last tube, clean up, and then we're done here. But it does feel like your units are in kind of a similar situation to last time, where they're not quite they're not quite disposable, but they're also the run isn't dead if you lose a high-ranking unit. Like, reasonably speaking, in the original, even though it was difficult, you could still pull it off with rookies. It just got super intense, because you just basically walked out, like a bunch of, cannons started firing all over the place, blowing a bunch of stuff up. Morale would take a gigantic drop, but then you would basically turn their own tactics against them. You'd send out all your rookies holding rocket launchers, you just basically blast them off in random directions, get a few lucky kills, and then suddenly you just rock that morale bonus and use close-range shotguns to just bum-rush everything. Like, there was a lot of that, of just, like, overcoming stuff with creative solutions, creative, grounded solutions. So that just feels good. Also, yeah, she's apparently rocking 2 different bleeds at the moment. Why don't you patch yourself up first? This guy's currently looking the other direction. At least take a shot on him, see what we got. Let's see. You're going to need a 54 to completely just kind of lay down the fire here. I'm hoping this will be enough to do the job. So sometimes you can just sort of aim in a direction, just tell them fire that way. So that ended up shredding everything along the way, and almost got him killed. Fantastic. Good choice. Alright. Next order of business can take 24 to throw that flashbang. I'm going to see if maybe, just maybe, I'm assuming there's like 3 or 4 left. We're going to attempt to flashbang this dude. Let's go ahead and long range that. There we go. He's suppressed and dealt with. You... really don't like risking you, but there's another tube down here. You get some pretty decent movement. Why don't we just go ahead and go in this direction, attempt to recover Yi Tube. Definitely leaving her way more out in the open than I'd like. But hey, as long as we're getting stuff accomplished here. I feel like we're on the upper end of this fight right now. Feels like we've pretty reasonably got this handled. If this was later on in the game, I'd be a bit more worried about going this aggressive with these guys. You definitely don't want to be throwing away your units. It's like, even though nobody's really truly like disposable, basically you just always want to keep a hold of your people as much as possible. Having at least a few high-ranking people, especially in the original at least, always made a massive amount of difference. Now, let's see, we got that guy over there. Okay, cool. I've put you in a terrible position right then. Just sitting here looking at the icon this whole time like, I wonder where the other guy is. Right over there, dumbass. Staring right at you. So hopefully they decide to go after somebody else. But let's see, we've got at least 3 confirmed on the field right now. Alright, she panicked. Honestly, understandable. Kind of put her in a bit of a bad position there. These things will occur. Now, do you got any shots on this guy? Maybe... we might go for smoke. We'll see. Let's see, you're in a pretty good position to just end this guy, I think. Yeah, that's just gonna happen. Honestly, this is one of those, like, never look at the odds kind of games. Because while they will give you some information, generally... generally, it's going to make more sense to just kind of do what you're going to do, and, a lot of times it may make more sense than it seems. I was going for that tube, got, an extra tube in the head instead. It's It's just one of those playing terribly kind of situations. Also, where is your... Huh? Well, that's an interesting bug. Alright. He has stunned himself into his own inventory. That's certainly an interesting one. Okay, we're gonna have to bug report that one as soon as we can. It's still weird to me to see heavies showing up right from the get-go. Like, you usually wouldn't see the actual soldier variants of these guys until like a couple months into like Xenonauts 1 and whatnot. But yeah, they're just everywhere now. This is going kind of terribly, but you know, at the same time, still having a good time. So there's that. All right, you're just gonna look around. There's a dude alive over here. I'm gonna say you just rush this door because we need to be dealing with the ones in here ASAP. What do we do with you exactly, though? I just feel like you probably would actually be safest going this way, because they go down this way, they have an easy shot, but they probably don't think to go around this way. Hopefully. Anyway, that might backfire terribly as well. That has been the order of the day. But, you know. Yeah, that's just super weird how he's also in that weird situation where he currently does not kind of exist. Now, out of curiosity, if I tell him to fire, he still fires. He just thinks he's in... Alright. He's just having an existential crisis, I think. Early access will happen. Alrighty, I may not have any clue what the hell just happened, but hey, a win is a win. Apparently, okay, correction. Basically what happened there is you're supposed to get a certain amount of units out in a certain amount of time, and if you manage to stop them before the abduction happens, presumably there's a different objective that happens, like, or a different thing that happens if you manage to kill all the enemies before the abduction finishes, but as long as you save at least half of the people being abducted, it counts as a success, and they just kind of leave. So there's that. Alrighty. So, let's see what we got back at base then. We got the autopsy on these guys. But it's cool, like, the fact that they just sort of do their objectives and leave, rather than turning everything into a life-for-death fight there. The whole, like, alien thing here feels a lot more... Like, they were directly intended to feel super disposable last time. Now they feel more kind of mysterious and organized. Kind of a weird way to describe it, but, you know, it's what comes to mind. It just feels good. Feels good. So, alright, that is about that. So as far as first impressions go, definitely really, really happy with the way that that this is shaping up so far. Again, obviously, there's going to be more updates. It's still early access, all of that kind of thing. But yeah, it's been really positive, is the thing. So that feels great to see. Ooh, magnetic autocannon. Also, the chickens say hi in the background. And so yeah, you just obviously do all your research. You get your different modules for different things. The modularity feels really good. I appreciate that. I would assume, just like regular Xenonauts, you probably can rock your basic equipment throughout most of the game to a reasonable degree, as long as you know the mechanics. Like, honestly, basic ballistic shotgun in Xenonauts 1 was just like pretty much a disposable free armor shredding tool. It's like you would just send rookies out with shotguns, and it's like, here you go, you hit something with a shotgun enough times, it's going to shred all of its armor, and then you just put a heavy machine gun on it. Again, you might have noticed when I was going and referring to a lot of stuff for like Tactics Ogre and whatnot, a lot of it came from ideas from this one here. You take your breach in that one, you basically just apply the shotgun from this one. You take your archers in that one, you apply your snipers in this one. Like, oh, man. Anyway, I know, this feels like a really weird simile that makes no sense to anybody that's not on the channel normally, but is Xenonauts 2 good? Oh yeah, this feels great. This feels great to play. The flow feels good. The way that the fights are going feels good. The way that the kind of enemy units are handled feels really solid. I'm a little bit surprised that this one hasn't actually... this one hasn't been updated to the new one yet, so this is the original Xenonauts 1 art. Anyway, let's look over the expense report. I don't know what I'm expecting to find out of this information. We have expenses. Just tell me how much it costs and how bad we're doing, sir. But yeah, we're approaching month 2. Let's see. I mean, we're making progress there. Let's see, quantum teleportation. I love the write-ups on these too. It's like, I have long believed that the aliens are using some form of faster-than-light drive to visit our world, and I now finally validated my theories by identifying the UFO components responsible. Although the exact mechanism is still unclear, this alien hyperdrive appears to work via the principles of quantum teleportation. Fanciful though it may sound, this apparently allows the vehicle to instantaneously jump to a new location without needing to traverse the intervening space. Our enemies possessing viable FTL technology would explain much about this invasion that is otherwise difficult to understand, most notably the fact that the cosmic distances are so unimaginably vast that conducting interstellar warfare should be virtually impossible in practice. Furthermore, it would also explain the origin of the strange quantum disturbances that I've been using to track the extraterrestrial activity, and the unusually abrupt manner in which alien craft appear to enter and exit our skies. While this knowledge alone brings us no closer to discovering the source of the invasion, gaining access to the hyperdrive and its navigational systems may provide the information we need. Unfortunately, the device stubbornly refuses to respond to our signals. This does not mean that it is uninterested in communication, however. It is continuously probing its surroundings with a repeating signal. The only observed response came from electronic components within a Mentark core, which appears to establish a channel with the hyperdrive. With the creature dead, no data was ultimately exchanged. Given Mentarks themselves are bizarre creations of unknown purpose, it is certainly plausible that they play some role in the alien hyperdrive system. Therefore, suggest you attempt to capture one alive. So, there we go. That's going to be our next plot point then. Probably could have gotten that by this point, and almost did, actually. Alright. Any darn ways. So, I should probably wrap this up at some point, but I just kind of want to keep playing. So we'll go ahead and leave that there for the moment. Go ahead and set up our secondary base. Let's see, where was all of this stuff at? Here we go. Actually, let's give it a different name. There we go. Looks good to me. All right. I meant to put the access lift over here, but yeah, seeing as base defenses do seem to be more of a feature this time around. But we're gonna need to give this thing some living quarters. We're gonna need it to have some space. Probably give it a bit of a storeroom over here. You can just seemingly build wherever you like as long as it's connected. Gonna need a hangar at some point. Are we too broke for that? We're not too broke for it just yet. Give it a radar. Probably should have just set this up as a basic base, but oh well. Might have a second just kind of crew base set up at some point. Also, we probably should go over here, hire some new soldiers and all of that kind of thing. This just feels good. That's the best way I can put this. Everything about Xeno 2 so far just feels good. Also, you, sir, are an absolute just chicken shit, so that's not really going to happen. Let's see, you've got no accuracy, but you seem to be an absolute lunatic. Also, actually, your accuracy is the same as your bravery. What are we doing? Anyway, yeah, bravery is their, basically their stat for whenever something spooky happens, like an alien vaporizes a local peasant or what have you. They will suddenly have a lowering to that score if they're nearby their commanding units. Presumably, if it still works the same way, that will be somewhat mitigated. And so, yeah, there's all of that. And if you're wondering about all of the operations and news and information and all of that kind of thing, that's all constantly updating off in the background here. There's extensive write-ups for dang near everything. Obviously, there's going to be more on it as time goes on. I love that you get these little machine gun dinghies for protecting your base. I was kind of hoping that we'd get attacked by a base attack here, and I love that you start off with one just to let you know that they exist. Feels good. Also, we probably should be going and making or rebuilding this thing, so it's half the cost of a Mars unit to rebuild it. Let's go and give that thing back its whole position here, just because that cannon was really strong. I probably should give it a machine gun, actually, if they have the option at some point. Alright. Let's see, they finished rebuilding it. Do we have any other things? I'm doing a bad job of going and completing this thing, aren't I? Like, I keep saying I'm going to end it, and then I just keep doing more. Things get more armor, probably get, like, maybe 5 more suits of that stuff. Can we make an accelerated cannon? We can barely afford it, but we can do it. Might give us some better odds. I'm thinking, like, maybe 1 triple torpedo fighter, 1 with sidewinders and cannons. I wonder if we can triple cannon, actually. I should see if that's the case. Triple cannons would be awesome. It would be impossible to fly something like that, but would be awesome. Also, I'm going to go make a magnetic machine gun, because I want to see how that'll work. Also, I kind of want to see how the lasers pan out now that I'm thinking about it. So we are probably a few days off from that coming up. Somewhere along them lines, both cleaner cells have now been revealed. Destroying a cell will end cleaner activity in the linked regions and give the opportunity to collect additional cleaner data. This will also weaken their headquarters by removing the associated bonus from the defenders. Okay, hold on. Time out. I like my board game mechanics. Let me see. And we get a new... Interesting, we get a new dropship right away. Okay, how much are those? Let's see. Improved, capable of transporting additional soldiers and vehicles, or development of improved interceptor. That's for superior resilience. I mean, I feel like I better... Well, we'd actually probably want more interceptors. We're doing well enough on the ground fight. Okay, I'm basically going to be restarting this file so that I don't lose so many units early on, but I want to see what these lasers look like this time. So can we attack these? Okay, these are just going to be whenever. So you either go and take out their captain here, or you go and take out their captain here. Okay. I like the new cleaner missions. I'm just going to let it run 10 days because I want to see what the laser weapons look like. So, alright, let's see. We got that thing, all well and good. Come on, show me lasers. I want to see lasers. Show me them lasers. Yes, yes, lots of stuff happened. World's ending. I know, big issue. Yeah, you do your thing, whatever. You will remain completely unopposed for the moment. I want to see them lasers. We already saw them, aliens. Okay, so damage multiplier 135%. No penetration. No. Oh, lots of armor destruction though. Easy. Oh, okay. Easy aiming and a thermal type of damage. Let's see, is especially vulnerable or terrain is especially vulnerable to thermal damage. So lasers inflict double damage on terrain objects, and they're easier to aim. Okay, so they get... It's kind of a mix of different ideas here. Alright, let's see. Although knowing this enthusiasm is not misplaced, my research suggests lasers will substantially outperform our existing ballistic firearms in terms of damage output, and are much easier to aim due to the projectile traveling at the speed of light, so presumably there's going to be no recoil. The laser apparatus in these weapons is relatively simple, differing little from those already commonplace in modern electronics. The challenge has always been delivering sufficient power, because the energy source would require the size of a truck, rather defeating the point of making them man-portable in the first place. Thankfully, the enormous energy density of Millennium virtually eliminates the problem. Although heavier than equivalent ballistic weapons and requiring more frequent reloads, these lasers can be carried by all but your these lasers can be carried by all but your most feeble soldiers. Finally, as you're no doubt ignorant to the finer points of laser physics, note that these weapons are not heat rays. As such, they do not cut or burn their victims. Rather, they are beams of coherent light that pulse many hundreds of times per second, superheating and blasting away the surface of the target with each one. Such weapons have little trouble tearing gaping wounds into biological flesh, but are also extremely destructive, though not penetrative, against harder targets such as enemy armor or battlefield terrain. So that's interesting. So they essentially destroy terrain instead of shooting through it. That's the kinds of details that I love about these things, you know? Like the kind of more interesting ways that they're approaching some of these weapon types. Now, let me see if we have in our reports here for the different weapon types. Let's see. Where's our weapons? I want to see... Okay, it just says 135. Is it going to tell us over here what the stats of these things are? I want to see some stats. Yes, it does. Okay, so let's see what that looks like. So it does a completely different damage type. Absolutely tears through armor. Let's see. Capacity 5 shots for a pistol. Yeah, that thing's... Oof. Also, it's looking a bit more refined than earlier versions. Let's see what the shotgun looks like. That looks pretty good. 4 shots on the shotgun. What does the rifle look like? Looks like capacity is 5 shots. Yeah, that's definitely not super huge on the rifles for that particular thing. Precision laser might be a different story, though. Yeah, only 3 shots for that one, but, yeah, that thing, again, just melts armor right off of stuff. How does the laser machine gun look? Yeah, 30 shots. Honestly, the laser machine gun looks like the heavy machine gun from Xeno 1, stats-wise. Alright, let's see. All burst fire suffers some more recoil, but this thing's lasers. It doesn't have recoil. Anyway. Okay. Alright. I'll finally go and wrap it up here. Yeah, by the way, for the sake of comparison, this thing tears off 8 armor per hit, whereas the magnetic version will penetrate more, but it only tears off 2 armor per hit. Like, those are the kinds of fun strategic considerations that I like. I love the physicality of these games. Anyway, so that'll be that. I'll finally wrap it up here. First impressions, unbelievably positive. I'm super happy how this turned out, because given how long it was taking to come out, I was kind of worried about covering it for a decently long while, but this is looking absolutely awesome. This feels really fun to play. I love the amount of UI stuff that they've added in terms of letting you know what's going on. It just feels like there's a lot of pieces moving around, and that just feels wonderful. All right, y'all have yourselves a good one. Take care, and oh shoot, I forgot the important thing. You know what? Actually, I'm just going to throw it in the intro. Whatever. We'll just go ahead and throw it in the intro. All right, y'all have a good one. Take care. Alrighty, every folks. So a little bit of a pre-thing before we actually get started here. So when they reached out to me to cover Xenonauts 2 a little bit, I was given a Steam key to to go get started on this game. Now, obviously, I've covered it for years, and kind of minor ways here and there. So I already own the thing from back when it had its first first batch of early access stuff way back in the day. Because honestly, ever since Xenonauts 1, I knew I'd absolutely love Xenonauts 2. But this means that I now have an extra Steam key. So for anyone that's looking for a bit of that experience, feel free to go ahead and leave your favorite Welcome to Earth story, because that's how we're going to be judging this whole thing. I want to hear the best kind of story you've seen, whether it's out of Xenonauts, whether it's out of Classic XCOM, or whether it's out of the X Division mod, any of those. Just your best story of just weird suddenly emergent gameplay type of moments, like those times that you rolled up to a UFO to clear it out with all of your heavily armed goons, only to find out that, some random rent-a-cop with his pistol already cleared out the entire thing for you. Just sitting there reaction firing several heavily armed lizards at the same time. Or, like, I remember those moments where just due to the armor system, I was able to take out a tank with a pistol after, like, half an hour. Or, let's say those moments, like, where one time I was trying to just hit somebody on the other side of a wall and didn't realize it was the last section of wall holding up an entire skyscraper. And so the poor guy dropped a building on himself. Anyway, there's a million and one stories like that, and I just want to hear the coolest ones. So whatever you got in mind, feel free to go ahead and throw it in here, and let's hear it. Whoever's got the coolest story will end up getting the Steam key here. Maybe we'll do that by upvotes, like whoever gets a story that's upvoted the most or something. That kind of feels like it's giving priority to people that show up way earlier or something. I don't know. We'll figure that out, and we'll announce that at a later point. But anyways, I just want to hear all those stories, so y'all go ahead and leave them around wherever you can, and now we'll get back to the kind of preview type of thing itself. And honestly, no spoilers here. This thing freaking rules. So y'all have yourselves a good one. I will see you soon, and also for pretty much the next hour or so worth of early impressions. And y'all take care. Can't wait to hear those stories. Bye.